Loud it is. So welcome to the Kairos Family Academy session for mentoring. My name is Louis Roche. I serve Kairos as Director of Mentoring and Choice, and this session's meant to accomplish a lot of things together with you, caretakers of our podlings. So let's go ahead and get started. The objectives for the session are as follows. This session is designed to inform you about the policies and procedures of mentoring at Kairos, to gather input on our performance indicators, what we define success as, and then seek your perspectives and advice on current practices and priorities for my own work. The agenda for this meeting, we're going to spend about 5 minutes doing a quick introduction and establishing norms for how we work together. Then we're going to go into the policies, procedures, and some mentoring data, followed by performance indicator collaboration, and then a priority alignment discussion. The collaboration will be a Google form that you fill out during the session, and then we'll come back and finish up with some final thoughts and next steps. Before I move on to the introduction and norms, again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to use chat. I will be actively monitoring it during this session. And in the recording, email louis.roche@kairosacademy.org. Without further ado, who I am and what we're going to be doing today. So my name is Louis Roche. This is the most significant moment of my life when my son Jonas was born. Just sharing a little bit of context for who I am here today in front of you and what I care most about. Family first, you know. My beautiful wife, Shelby, you'll notice there's a lot of joy being had. And then continuing the theme of Jonas, some of my favorite pictures of him, again, just kind of what brings me here to you today in this state. Really appreciate the privileges that I've had in life. And this is my most honorable one, I'd say. I love being a parent. Just a quick note, setting a tone for the presentation. Your subjective perceptions are just as important. Kathy White, welcome, glad you're here. Your subjective perceptions are just as important as our objective data. Thus, a priority of this session will be to gather your perspectives and input on a variety of metrics we use to monitor the performance of mentors at Kairos and provide subsequent support and recommendations.
And Louis, can I pause you for a quick second?
Always.
I always wanted to let other people know that we have the principal of the middle school. So Tamara, do you want to come off, or Principal Pendleton, and say anything, and then introducing myself so that they know the team of people that we have supporting them in the Parent Academy and the work, and then especially you, Louis, at the helm of coaching and mentoring.
Good evening, everyone. I am Miss Pendleton. I'm the principal of Kairos Academy's middle school. I am also a mentor in the building to my podlings. And yeah, that's me.
Okay, and then I am Dr. K. I am the managing school director and also a fellow parent. I have a son that attends Kairos Academy in the 8th grade. So not only do I get to wear that hat, I also get to mentor 3 additional podlings in the 8th grade as well. So this is a full circle opportunity for me, and I'm super excited to be learning more about coaching and mentoring right alongside you. All right, I will turn it back over to you, Louis.
Woo, good team. So next up, talking about some of the norms that we are practicing embodying for the session. First and foremost, we have a capture tool ready. We can't commit to remember something. If it's really important to us, write it down. Second one's just fully present. If you have any distractions that might limit your ability to attend fully to the moment, I do ask that you put those away. That being said, I get you have your cell phone on you, right? We have so many responsibilities in modern age. You do you. Your responsibility is very much trusted. Third one's just acknowledging a growth mindset. You know, everybody makes mistakes, and we learn from those mistakes. So it's going to be important that we acknowledge that that's how we learn. You know, I've made a lot of mistakes, some of which I'm going to own for you in this presentation, and some of which I hope you can help me learn. Mrs. Hagens, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Still connecting on audio, but again, thank you. Fourth one is valuing task conflict. So conflict is natural, inevitable, and necessary, but really delineating it from task conflict to personal conflict, avoiding personal conflict and focusing on what the task demands is going to be a norm of the session. And then the last one is just accountable to your ability. So everybody has different strengths. I expect you to use yours, whether that's knowing when to ask for help or helping others that you see struggling. We're in this together, you know? This is a idea that I come back to in all of my sessions. If you've been with me before, you'll notice this is in all of them. This is just really kind of an alignment mechanism about how we work together. You'll notice some arrows, and I want to guide you through this framework, if you will. So first on the left, you'll notice the foundation is trust. It's about people. Character, competence, and connection is how we build trust with one another. And once we have that strong base as a foundation, we move up to a focus on results. That's clarity and accountability and support. Now, we provide support before we have that accountable metric. You'll notice those are always going to be back and forth. But the focus for us is about the results and the performance of the policies and processes that we have as part of mentoring at Kairos. So I hope everything I've said has come off clear so far. You'll let me know if there's any lingering questions in chat. Appreciate everybody. So our first section for today's session, we're going to go through some rationale for mentoring, answering the questions of why and how, and then going through some policies and procedures that we work with at Kairos. So why mentoring? I apologize. I know it's super rote, but I am going to read this for you just to make sure that everybody gets it. So why mentoring? The purpose of mentoring is to guide podlings' decision-making processes to support the development of executive functioning, basically self-regulation skills. We mentor to engage with the people in our community. Our work centers around the scholar and closely includes their caretakers. Mentoring develops relational capacity, individual will and determination, and how to advance through opportunities. You'll notice as part of the norms in my sessions, anything that's underlined is a link. So if you have the link to the session, you'll have every link in here as well. I'll make sure that that's posted in chat for you now. Thank you for your grace and patience. The last one is just really clarifying what we mean when we say executive functioning, because it's a pretty meaning dense word. It means cognitive processes such as attention control, cognitive inhibition, choosing what not to do, inhibitory control, being able to not do something, working memory, the kind of RAM, the desk space of your brain, so to speak, where you're actively focused on, and then cognitive flexibility that help govern behavior. Kathy, things I'm saying are for all students, middle school and high school. Thank you for the question. That help govern behavior. In other words, monitor and select behaviors that facilitate the attainment of chosen goals. So that's kind of the rationale of like why we do mentoring at Kairos. I want to share with you some principles and beliefs that we developed to serve as like North Stars for our practice. These propositions are continually, Deb, welcome. We're glad you're here. These propositions are continually evaluated for their validity. They're not truths so much as servants to guide our own practice conversations. The first one of those is Nina, welcome, glad you're here. Authentic application, interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary, experiential and participatory, flexible and individualized, outcomes-based, and open practice. Second one's caring community. We are inclusive and diverse by design. We are community-based, supportive, team-based, co-creative, and space-based. Setting matters quite a bit, the environment of learning, and we focus on controlling that as much as possible. And the last one's transformational, socially innovative, respectful of people and tradition, impactful and reflective. Quick note, everything I present is in perpetual beta, so if you have any criticisms or critiques, I welcome them with open arms as necessary task conflict. So make sure you're disagreeing with me in chat. Appreciate your candor on that. Second one, after principles, beliefs. These are things that we believe to be true of everybody at Kairos, from staff to students to everybody that chooses us to serve as their educational provider. The first one, students have infinite potential. We believe that nothing's impossible. It's our motto for a good reason, and it honors the tradition of living in St. Louis. The second one, innovation through curiosity and questioning. We believe we can foster dramatically better learning experiences by asking open questions, identifying assumptions, and then testing them against data. The third one, community-driven research and development. By participating and being here with me tonight, you're helping shape the future of Kairos. So just a bit of gratitude. I appreciate you being here. We believe our duties include stakeholders to continually liberate information and embrace evidence. So that was the why, our principles and beliefs. Now we're going to go into the how. These are what you should expect from mentors at Kairos. Just providing a little bit of transparency and clarity for you. So from mentors at Kairos, apologize for the typo, you should expect 2 check-ins per week that are logged in Summit. The first check-in is generally a personal and relational check. My own practice, I check in with them personally by asking them if they're well rested and they're able to focus, their relational aspect, if they've had any conflicts recently or any shout outs that they have, and then we dive into the academics. So you notice the last part of the first check-in is setting goals and dated actions. We commit to calendarizing and creating next steps that everybody has access to. The second check-in is typically a progress monitor. We adjust strategies. We provide accountability as a growth partner for any commitments that we made in the meeting prior, and then set our sights on what's going to be true by the next time we meet, and just continue strengthening that cycle and loop. The second thing that you can expect from mentors at Kairos is at least 1 weekly message. Now, the data that we tend to lean on the most is the use of the Remind app, but we know as caretakers, you have communication preferences like email and phone, texting, and all of the different ways that we can communicate nowadays, which I'm trying to figure out how can we measure to help monitor the health and performance of mentoring at Kairos. So I'd appreciate any feedback that you have on that. But in that weekly message, this message might contain goals, noticings, collaboration requests, notifications, or anything else. What matters most to us is that we honor our promises to your preferences and desires. If you say you want to talk via email, we should be talking to you via email. And if we're not, let me know, and I would be happy to facilitate that. The last one, at least 1 mentoring conversation per cycle. Those cyclical conversations are meant to share data regarding podlings' achievement, mindset, and growth, while also liberating information from caretakers to better align our practices to extracurricular life. We only know what you include us in, and the more information we have, the more empowered we are to do our job better. So I encourage you to treat your mentor as a trusted confidant and let them know any uncomfortable truths that your family is experiencing. It's absolutely normal to be challenged and struggle through things. And we want to provide you support, same team.
Can I push into? I want to add that I believe that mentoring and the effectiveness of it is a two-way street. So we have clearly outlined what it looks and feels like for us on our part, but I want to empower parents to know that you can reach out to the mentor at any given time. So it may not be exactly when you get the check-in. You could say, hey, I wanted to know about this. If you're talking to your scholar at home and there is something that they brought to your attention and you have a wondering about that, you can always reach out and be a part of that relationship. So I don't want parents to feel like they have to wait for it to be initiated by the mentor, that they are empowered to reach out and ask for what they need as well.
Thank you for adding that. Definitely agree. Mentors should be, I don't always want to say your first access point, like you can contact their teacher and stuff, but they're definitely meant to be your primary advocate within Kairos. So Dr. K, thank you. Moving on to the actual processes of mentoring. I wanted to share 2 resources with you. These 2 resources are vital to our policies and procedures at Kairos. The one on the left is the mentoring one-pager. Before I go any further, allow me to stamp the fact that these documents are created as staff, as the desired audience, which means that some of the language may not be written in as accessible way as it could be. And I want to own that I don't want to overload you with any information, but rather provide transparency in our practices and our policies and procedures, So without further ado, the mentoring one-pager on the left is a concise and precise overview of the core responsibilities of mentoring at Kairos. And then the mentoring playbook is a more complete detailing of the policies and procedures of mentoring at Kairos. You'll take a note at the bottom. I mentioned it earlier, but all of my work is always in perpetual beta. Nothing is ever final. As such, you'll notice these documents continue to evolve as we reiterate and learn. And I did want to take a moment to go through the format of those documents, at least just to make sure that I provide a little bit of context for them. Can I get a thumbs up? Can you see this okay? Cool, thank you, Dr. K. I wanted to make sure it wasn't like the window and it was the screen, so I appreciate you. So this is the mentoring one-pager, really just clarifying the expected behaviors of mentors at Kairos. You'll notice check-ins, guarding communication, goal setting, planning and prioritizing, and then holistic wraparound supports with links everywhere. All of these links you are encouraged to explore as you see fit, and reach out to me if you have any questions or suggestions. As a partner in education who's accountable to you, again, skeptical critiques, bring them to me. I love collaboration, so please do. So one pager, super concise and precise. The playbook is a much more exhaustive resource, going through the principles and beliefs that I shared with you earlier, but again, some values, some things that we aligned our culture to, our expectations and tools, what check-ins actually look like, and how you scaffold those for different levels of executive functioning. We have some norms for what students are capable of what, and like the responsibilities that you can lean on them for, that gradual relief, if you will. And then again, just clarifying some guardian communication, messaging on remind, mentoring conversations, academic guidance, what they need to know to support scholars academically as a mentor, and then just some additional resources at the bottom. These are things from the first three, which are professional development sessions that I led that I wanted to give you access to. Again, just for clarity, right? And transparency. Some of the other ones are clarifying how we use Summit, some tools that we have as educators. There's some Harvard usable knowledge stuff here for conversing with people who are different than you, which is really, really important because we're diverse by design. We have a troubleshooter, the Remind Help Center, and some other stuff there at the bottom. Not super important, but again, just wanted to give you access to all of these resources to really model transparency in practice. So again, I encourage you to look through those, contact me if you have any questions, and I'd love to be your thought partner on those. That being said, not super vital for the continuing of this conversation. So to keep pace, we're going to be moving on. These are the effective mentoring components at Kairos. These are basically what we measure and how we measure performance. So you'll notice that we track Summit data. We track check-ins per week, per pod link for coaches, making sure that they're meeting those marks. And then average check-in minutes, the duration, and how that correlates with the success, henceforth. We track the completion of mentoring conversations, the number of assigned pod links versus how many they're expected to have. And we track how many reminder messages they send per week. As I prefaced earlier, what matters most is that we honor your communication method. So there's a better way to do that, and I own that, and that's going to be in the further iterations of this process. As far as the work in progress components, these are ones that I'm actively working on developing and norming for use at the end of the cycle to roll out. These work in progress components include, from the top, a rubric aligned observations, satisfaction surveys for both guardians that should be caretakers. I am updating my language, and scholars. As a caretaker, you should have been given a satisfaction survey at the end of your most recent mentoring conversation. If you've yet to have that survey, I'll make sure that it's available for you in the upcoming newsletter. And then the last one, PFA completion. That's power focus area completion, part of the Summit self-directed learning that we do at Kairos. And we're tracking the number of current number completed versus the expected for on-track completed, and seeing what correlations exist and how we can best support. So those are the metrics that we use to determine the performance of mentors at Kairos. I wanted to share some data with you about those metrics. Now, I know you don't have all of the context for this, and these numbers can be pretty meaningless and confusing. I'm only going to spend about a minute on this. You'll notice on left some of our Summit data. At the end of our most recent cycle, scholars were expected to have 20 check-ins. We averaged about 5, so that's 25% of our total goal, and that's not where we want to be. So I own that as not necessarily a mistake, but a little bit of a failure, and I commit to remediating that process. And your participation tonight is part of that. So again, thank you for being here. Average check-in duration, 10 minutes. That's probably exactly where we want it to be. Mentoring conversations, you'll notice that this cycle we're struggling to get that done, and I'm pushing in to provide support on that. And then remind messages per week. We're really only about 33% of our goal of 6 to 8, depending on the number that we have assigned. Again, it's not the best metric, but I wanted to own where we were with these metrics as part of this conversation of transparency and accountability and how we provide support. So I appreciate that. Again, if you want to take a look at these, they're in the link that's provided for you in chat, but I'm going to be moving on. So we're going to be looking at those performance indicators, those basic and secondary expectations, and we're going to be completing a Google form during this time. This is a performance indicator alignment check. I will provide the link for you to complete this in chat if you don't have access to the session yet. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up on my screen. I'm gonna full screen this. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit for us so we can all see it well. And without further ado, so this performance indicator alignment check is to really test our assumptions against your subjective perceptions about what you think makes strong mentors at Kairos, to make sure that we're measuring the right things. You'll notice this Google form has 2 questions. The first question, you're going to rate each row, so each row on the left, by your perception of the validity of each metric as a performance indicator. So if I think that check-ins per week per podling, basically how often my podling is checked in with, is a strong indicator of performance, I would click strong predictor. If I think it's so-so, it's not weak or strong, somewhere in the middle, I would put moderate predictor. Or if I think that this has little or no correlation with the success of my scholar at Kairos with regards to mentoring, I would put as weak. It says you don't have permission to view it. I will be remediating that immediately. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I apologize. I do need to step out of my focus on the meeting for a second and change the settings on this form. I appreciate your patience and grace as I do so.
And while you do that, Louis, what I dropped in the chat as well, parents, is just the Parent Academy series that lets you know what we'll be looking at the following weeks, this one. And anytime a parent can attend, we are going to record this and share it out. And then additionally, if you attend a session and you have questions either during the session, you can ask, or if you have questions afterward, we will be available to answer that as well. And this will be shared with you in the network news letter that goes out weekly.
Yeah, Nina, Sarah, Ms. Higgins, again, thank you for that. If you reload the page, it should let you in. I want to take a second just to allow you to do that, to make sure that you have access before I go any further. I did update the settings on it, and I appreciate making mistakes in recordings. Yes.
Let's roll with the punches. There we go.
Huzzah. Good team. Cool. Appreciate you guys. Okay, without further ado. Again, we're going through and we're looking at each one of those metrics and ranking it as either a weak, a moderate, or a strong predictor of success of mentoring at Kairos. So how often check-ins happen, how long check-ins are, percent of mentoring conversations complete. The more often we communicate with you, do you think that has an effect on your scholar's performance? This is how you let us know. Remind messages per week, the scheduled communications, rubric aligned observations, guardian and caregiver satisfaction, scholar satisfaction, and PFA completion. Again, do you think those are weak, moderate, or strong predictors of success of mentoring at Kairos? The last question that we have, what other predictors of performance should Kairos consider? I promise that I will critique my own practice with regards to the advice, suggestions, recommendations, and guidance that you give. And anything that the survey will be available later, 100%, 24/7. Deb, thank you. Anything that you put here, I promise to follow up with you on. That is within my sphere of control. And I believe that communication is meant to be as proactive as possible. So I hope you've experienced that with me in the past. If we haven't had the pleasure of dialoguing yet, I encourage you to reach out to me. I love having conversations with people. And yeah, I'm kind of 2 minds right now. 1, I want to give you a little bit of time to get this done. 2, I want to respect your time and get through the entire session so that you can complete this on your own time as well. There are 5 caregivers as attendants right now. I will move on as soon as I receive an X from at least 3 of you in chat, meaning that you're either done with the form or you're ready to move on. I just want to make sure that I'm honoring your time and what I don't know. So I'm going to be quiet until I see 3 X's in chat. Let me know if you have any questions, and appreciate you guys being here. Thank you, Sarah. Hey, let's go. Cool. Moving on to key pace. I appreciate y'all's use of chat. Thank you. Our next section of our session this evening is a priority alignment discussion. Again, part of my leadership style is humility and transparency. So these are quite literally my priorities for the month of November, what I'm working on here and now, today and tomorrow. So again, dedicated to discussing your perspectives and insights about how my work intersects with Kairos and our organization as a whole, and how I can align my practices with your needs. So this month, my current priority projects are creating a mentoring check-in rubric for observations, and I'm going to be beginning those observations and providing feedback. Apologize for the typo. My second priority is creating a mentoring exemplar video repository of basically like what a check-in looks like, what mentoring conversation looks like, and all the other core processes to the practice of mentoring. My third one is updating and revalidating how choice as a space is accessed, just basically checking for equity and inclusion, and then increasing access to choice 2 and 3 spaces, basically the library spaces or more common spaces. And then level 3 will be the conference rooms and what metrics allow access to those spaces and how movement both up and down is normed across our organization. Those are my priorities for the month. So I wanted to dedicate a little bit of time for you to process what I've shared with you and to share a thought about the question at the bottom. So how well do these align with what you think mentoring at Kairos needs? I'm seeking your advice and recommendations on this. This can be written in chat. This can be unmuted and shared aloud. This can be sent to me as an email another time. Again, my name is Louis Roche, and I'm typing my email for y'all in chat right now. But just as earlier, to respect everybody's time and communication preferences, I realize that y'all might got things to do and not everybody may want to speak up. So as soon as I see 3 X's in chat, we'll move on. Until then, I just want to dedicate and give a little bit of space to hearing from you. So if you have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns about these priorities or how they align with what you think Kairos needs, let your voice be heard. I'm here to listen. Sarah, thank you.
I'll share until somebody else interrupts me. I think one thing that we want you all to know is when he has the check-in for our rubrics for observations, one way that we ensure that our teachers get the coaching and development that they need is we have rubrics. We go in, we look at, are they novice? Are they proficient? Are they advanced? And then we give them feedback to work on. So it could be in the terms of like a grow, a glow, and then an action step. So really having a little bit of like instructional practices behind what we're trying to do. And I guess in terms of trying to increase the quality of the mentorship relationship and giving them what they need. So in turn, they can give your scholar what they need. So I think I wanted to just kind of align and let you know that that's what an observation looks like. We're looking for particular things that Louis has already outlined as being like a metrics for good mentoring. And if they're there, and if not, what do they need to do in order to get to that next level? So I think that that's very important. And that's what I'm looking forward to seeing that, happen in the space.
Go team. Thank you, Dr. K. I'll count that as 2. As soon as I get one more in chat, either an X or a comment, we can move on to keep pace. But I just want to hold a little bit of time right here to give you the opportunity to let your voice be heard, figuratively or literally. I can read tone, There we go. Nina, thank you. Again, I'm always open. So if you didn't get the chance to share now, feel free to contact me. My email's in chat. Beautiful. Thank you. Go team. Woo. Love you guys using chat. Good to hear from you. Okay. So our last bit for this evening, our next session, just final thoughts and next steps, focusing on what solutions that I'm bringing to the table as developing. First, this is a bit of an informed, and this hasn't been like formally rolled out in the sense of like me communicating to all staff about the exact changes, but we know this is where we're going and we want to include you in this process from the beginning. So again, just so everybody gets it, I'm going to read it and then we'll talk about it a little. As we continue to learn and evolve, Kairos is changing our model significantly in this coming school year. We plan on releasing all staff from the responsibilities of mentoring. Instead, we plan on having a team of super mentors that will mentor the significant majority of scholars at Kairos. This change is being instituted to pursue an increase in effectiveness and efficiency by more tightly controlling the processes of a smaller group of staff more directly. That said, existing relationships that may wish to be maintained may be done as an extra duty for extra pay. The last thing I want to do is take the like self-affirming, self-actualizing, self-realizing connection that mentoring provides our staff with. But I also respect the fact that mentoring is not everybody's specialty and it's not everybody's primary responsibilities. So it kind of feels like a different job to their own job in a way. And we're trying to resolve some of that ambiguity and ambivalence. And this is a thought that we had, and it's certainly contentious because it's so core to the identity of Kairos. You know, what do? We do self-directed learning and mentoring. Choice is part of that, but it's so integral and interwoven throughout like the cultural tapestry of who we are, not to use metaphors too much, but I'm very, very, very sensitive about communicating this with you and all of the ramifications that it provides. So you're some of the first to hear this. So again, would love your thoughts. Chat, email, I have an exit ticket for you on the next slide. I just wanted to let you know that that's where we're headed as an organization. Yes, they are being, thank you for your question in chat. They are being, their opinions are being considered in the changes of this process. In fact, they were the catalyst of it. One of the surveys that I sent out demonstrated the, I don't know, the identity crisis of like being a teacher and a mentor, or being a instructional director or a building sub and being a mentor, and how the conflicts between those were difficult to navigate. And yeah, they catalyzed this conversation, and I'm like, you know what, that's a great idea. I bring it to my manager, he's like, you know what, that's a great idea. So we're rolling with it. And I think it'll be really valid and reliable for us. Sarah, thank you for your vote of confidence as well. I appreciate you.
Can I also provide a little context?
Always.
I think that also will help us eliminate from people who are not having a great coaching or mentoring relationship, right? Because it is certain things that need to be present that we want to make sure that we're valorizing and holding at a high level. So I think this allows us to streamline and get exactly what we need to be true, so that we can say when we offer mentoring, that it is at a level that we feel good about and a level that we are able to manage and hold a higher bar for it. So I'm really excited about making sure that we can have this expectation, roll it out to you, and then have matrices in place that allow us to be able to coach towards that. Yeah,
honoring the prior communications I've had with some of you. I take our promises seriously, and I think this will help us honor them. I appreciate your willingness to engage in change with me. Thank you for that. And again, any follow-up stuff that you got, my email's in chat, please feel free to reach out to me. That being said, moving on to keep pace. Our next steps. So on the next slide, you'll have an opportunity to provide me with feedback on this presentation, and I plead you to do so. I'm really literally making an emotional request of you. The only way that, not the only way, one of the best ways for me to grow is to know how I'm perceived by others. And I norm on the practice of seeking that perspective. Please be genuine and forthright with me. Don't be afraid to hurt my feelings. I detached my ego from my practice a long time ago, and it's more important to get it right than it is to be right. So let me know what I got right, and let me know what mistakes I made besides the 2 typos. I owned those. Anyways, your thoughts are really vital to our mission, as they partially represent the perspective of all the guardians and caretakers who couldn't make it to this session, like your stakeholder and community representatives in a way. So again, my commitment and promise to you is that I will follow up on any requested tasks that you assign me. If you think you'd like something to be implemented and you fill out the exit ticket form on the next slide, I promise to email you and tell you what I thought of what you said and what I'm doing because of it, right? That's within my locus of control, and I commit to that. In terms of communicating, explain that these replace Facebook. Ooh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Also, sending out reminders a little bit earlier than the session starting. Totally agree with you. That being said, if y'all tell me that you prefer that these sessions are on Facebook Live or something, I have no problem with that. There's a bit of a privacy gaps that I think might exist with like non-stakeholders attending, but I'm not sure, and I'm willing to consider it. That being said, our last slide for this evening, questions and feedback. I want to go through the exit ticket link with you real quick and provide you with a quick walkthrough of that. So, one sec. Beautiful. Thank you for the recommendation. So the exit ticket for this section, just real quick. Ooh, wait, before I do this, I made this mistake already, and I'll show you how I fixed it. So come in, go to settings, go to responses, and don't restrict to Kairos only. Now you should be able to. And I love that y'all get to learn that with me. The link to the exit ticket's posted for you in chat now if you'd like to do it together as we walk through it. But really quickly, just a few questions. First one is, overall, how satisfied are you with the session? I'm going to come up and preview this so it's the exact same thing as you see. From very dissatisfied to very satisfied, let me know how valuable you found of it. Then, how satisfied are you with the information that was presented, the actual content itself, the semantics, if you will. Again, from very dissatisfied to very satisfied. And then, how satisfied are you with the facilitation of the session? That's me seeking your feedback and perspective and advice for how you think I did and what you think I can improve upon in the future. Don't be afraid to hurt my feelings. Like, be real with me. And then last one, what specific actionable feedback do you have? Again, this is me requesting you to assign me with work. Let me know what you think needs to be done. And I promise to doing everything I can to make sure that it is. You have that commitment from me. That being said, that is the conclusion of our session this evening. I want to stamp that we are at 5:45. Many people have many responsibilities. I commit to being here until 6. If you have any questions or you would like to discuss any feedback that you have, either something you mentioned in chat or in this forum or anything mentor related, this time is for you. So allow me to close by saying, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing Kairos. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you, Louis, for this wonderful presentation. I do want to create the space, like you said, for parents to ask any questions. But in addition to that, I did go ahead and I dropped a document inside of the chat. This is our IXL competition that we are doing for cycle 3 that kind of leads right into like the mentoring. This is something that the mentors can currently help your scholars with. And another way that we use the supplemental curriculum to help our kids become self-directed and to really work on assigned tasks and skill set that they need help with when we identify that the NWEA. So I wanted to provide that with you and also allow any time to answer any questions that you may have for myself, the principal, or Louis in these remaining minutes.
Bit of a meta conversation. Shall I stop the recording?
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. Thank you.
Just kidding. Just stop.